You're listening to Cattywampus.
So we return to the Odyssey of Ernest, the second part of this tanticle, in which Ernest saves Saturnalia, also known as Christmas. This is the second film in the Ernest oeuvre. It came out in November of 1988, so pretty shortly after the release of Ernest Goes to Camp, hot off the success of Ernest Goes to Camp. Ernest Goes to Camp made back like 5 or 6 times its budget. I think Ernest Goes to Camp cost like $3 million and made like $23 million.
That's impressive.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah, so Ernest's next adventure. So we begin in Florida. Ernest has clearly fled from his previous job after the war crimes and is now, after basically being a domestic terrorist, and now is working as a taxi cab driver in Orlando, where he just so happens to pick up a fare at the airport who happens to be Santa. Now, I'm going to stop us all for a moment before we get too far into the woods. If there are children listening to this podcast, first of all, your parents are clearly not good parents. And second of all, we're going to talk about Santa. And if you have any thoughts and feelings about Santa, you should probably stop listening right now. Because I'm very charmed by the fact that in this film, unlike in reality, they unequivocally state right at the beginning that Santa's real.
Wait, he's not?
What?
No, Brian, I have some bad news.
Hold on.
Spoilers.
Sounds like I need to turn off this podcast because I thought he was real.
Well, too late now. That Band-Aid has been ripped off.
Steve, are you with me? Are you with them?
That's why I was so excited about this movie, because I finally got to see, the real
The
Santa.
truth has been exposed. He's real, man.
It's actually a translation error. His name is Santos.
Yes, Santos. But so for anyone who hasn't seen this, this is basically the plot of the Tim Allen comedy The Santa Claus, but like several years earlier and with Ernest, which by the way makes it much better than The Santa Claus.
I kept thinking that when I was watching it too. I was like, I feel like I've seen this movie before, but I've never seen an Ernest movie. So what is this?
Although, unlike The Santa Claus, instead of Tim Allen murdering Santa at the beginning and then becoming him in a Stephen King avataric way, Ernest is just going to help Santa give over the job of Santa to another guy so that Santa can retire. But basically, Ernest picks up Santa. Santa's got a magic sack of toys which have Dragon Balls in them. I don't know how else to describe them. But these glowing orbs that can basically grant you the wish of what you want for Christmas and turn into that thing. And so Santa, he has found a local local celebrity puppeteer comedy actor who was working at like local children's orphanages and programs. Definitely Santa material. He's going to take the job of Santa. So that's sort of the basic premise. What do we all think of this one?
I liked it 10,000 times more than Ernest Goes Camp.
Ernest saves camp.
Ernest saves the
Ernest
camp.
saves camp.
I mean, he saved the camp, all right?
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
We're going to war. Yeah.
But no, I thought I wasn't that excited because I don't necessarily like Christmas movies. And I was like, I don't
Until
really
now.
I don't want to watch a Christmas movie in fucking, June. And
July.
no,
Christmas
I
in
liked
July. Just because Brian, I don't know if you noticed, but this is timed for our Christmas in July episode, which is now annual since we did Home Alone last
That's
year.
true.
Oh. Well, yeah. So I watched this in July, and I really enjoyed it.
I kind of liked it too. I don't.
It was.
Guys, I think I like Ernest.
It was way more watchable. He was a businessman. Yes,
Was it just the director? Or
Mr. It was Mr. Manager Man, Mr. Businessman, just like in, I assume all Ernest movies, the bad guy's a businessman.
Mr. Stocks and Bonds.
It was the replacement Santa's manager / agent who was prime 80s douchebag. Like, he does the classic thing of getting out of his sports car and tossing his keys to someone who's not a valet. Which, by the way, if that happens in a movie, that guy gets to keep the car, right?
I think legally he's been
car.
transferred ownership.
Keys are as good as a title, right?
In some ways better.
So did this 80s business guy, did he have bonitis? He looked like he had bonitis.
And his evil plan is to give his client a career.
Yep.
His evil plan.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'd call him a villain so much as he's just a douchebag.
I gotta say, I did have a favorite part of this movie, and that is when Santa Claus goes on to the MGM set.
Oh yeah, so basically,
And finds out.
The manager gets this guy a job in a horror film, a Christmas themed horror film, in which a swamp fiend like alien is attacking Santa. I think.
I thought you said you were in like a Christmas sleigh. Yeah, sleigh. SLAY. And I was just like, ha, English.
Homonyms.
And then
Woo!
Santa punches him in the face.
Yeah, Santa punches an evil film director out. This movie has it all, guys. So basically, Ernest picks up Santa, and then he picks up a wayward youth. Which, by the way, if I don't remember the other movies, but if all of these movies are Ernest mentoring wayward youths, I'm kind of in.
Yeah, I don't need him to ever.
I believe that's really the crux of every Ernest movie.
He's kind
now
of
that
like
I think about it.
Wolverine.
I don't need him to have like a love interest or anything like that. I need him to just help other people.
No, it's like way cooler if he's a Wolverine-like figure who basically just keeps helping teen street kids. But basically, Santa is gonna give this sack to this actor, Joe, I think is his name in the movie. But unfortunately, a couple of things keep him from doing this. So Santa is flying in, and he ships his reindeer, which is weird. So he has to go through customs, which, by the way, what a pre-9/11 world. Where he can just go.
We just walked right through.
And then the reindeer are in a box. They fall on this baggage handler, who I assume is now dead and just in the head of the other baggage handler. But there's this whole B plot where the baggage handlers have to deal with the reindeer, who can walk on the ceiling, which is like a David Lynch nightmare that I was a little disturbed by, but whatever. Meanwhile, Ernest has Santa and his sack, and they're driving. Ernest is driving down the highway in such a way that I assume he causes the opening sequence of Final Destination 2. Meets the wayward youth, takes Santa to the orphanage so that he can meet the guy. We get the 80s douchebag, and then I believe Santa goes to jail. He's sent to jail for being crazy. Which, again,
he does, because Santa in this film clearly has dementia.
Which, by the way, though, another nice stab at the Reagan administration from Ernest, because this man can't be sent to a hospital. He's going to jail. And I know that the joke is he goes into the tank, and there's all these big tough ruffians, and the joke is he literally has them all like charmed, by the next scene, and they all love him. But I really, really wanted a movie that was like Oz but with Santa.
Nope. Instead, you got scenes with Ernest dressed up as a stereotypical government official, and some dude that I can only assume that someone on set or in charge had a weird fetish.
Oh yeah, so this is where Jim Varney seems desperate to beef his reel up.
It's one of my the two parts in this movie where he puts on a costume and acts like someone else.
Three parts.
Three parts.
Three disguises. First, his first disguise is he's like a stooge for the governor.
Yeah.
Who seems to have the local authority to remove prisoners to get Santa out of holding. And then he pretty much like one scene later, his second disguise is a mean old woman with a broken neck.
Oh, that's right.
At the orphanage. And then pretty much almost the next scene, he's like a deformed snake rancher to break into the movie set.
Those are some of the best parts of the movie. I hope it. So is this the second film?
That was the
no?
best part of the movie for you? I think I could have done without it. It just felt like the movie suddenly became Ernest Saves Jim Varney's Reel. Instead of Ernest Saving Christmas. This movie, I will say this, structurally, it's not as tight as Ernest Goes to Camp, but I do think I was much more charmed by this movie than Ernest Goes to Camp.
It had a lot more going on for it. And
we also got the return of Vern.
Yeah, Vern actually makes his initial appearance here.
Yeah, Vern actually is a thing. He's real.
The camera is Vern. He's not Cass. We don't know who Vern is. They do mention that Vern is a nuclear physicist, which I think is interesting. Another piece of the Vern puzzle. Ernest offhandedly mentions he's a nuclear physicist before they break into his house with a Christmas tree to give it to him. It's a very weird sequence. It kind of looks like the Blair Witch Project and or like Crank 2, the way it's kind of done.
The whole sequence literally makes no sense. Like, that was the one part in the entire film I'm just like, why is this happening? Why is he doing anything he's doing in this scene?
What I liked about it is that Ernest says, "Oh, I know how to fix this," and he goes out to his truck, and then he's distracted by the plot, like he's distracted by Santa's sack glowing or whatever. But if you look, he's picking up bolt cutters, and I was like, "Boy, what are those for?"
To take fingers, clearly.
Yeah, you know what I mean, Vern. Oh, Vern, you will know what I mean. So then he goes to the studio as a snake charmer. There's an alien swamp thing that's trying to kill Santa. Boy, I can't get that Fandango alert set up fast enough for those tickets. And then what happened? I don't remember what happens all of a sudden. They punch Santa, and then what do they do?
They punch Santa. No, Santa, they go
Sorry,
to
Santa
their...
punches the film director,
he
and
punches
then
the director.
And
Oh,
then
he
he
goes
finally
and- he
gets
goes
to
and
talk
talks-
to... Yeah, he finally gets to talk to Joe.
Yeah,
Right,
But
he
Joe,
talks to
Joe
Joe.
doesn't buy it because he doesn't have the sack.
Right, so he goes and sits on the bench for like 12
Metaphorically.
hours, or
and literally.
no, I mean like no, Santa goes and sits on
Yeah,
the bench.
because the wayward teen had
Right,
stolen
the teenager
Santa's sack.
steals the sack. Sorry, the wayward youth does not heed Ernest's warnings. And at that point, it's been an hour into the film, so it's time for Act 3 because these movies are 90 minutes and they really move. And also, I like that Santa knows that she's stolen the sack, but he kind of lets it happen because he's a goddamn kingmaker, I guess. I don't really understand that. He's got other shit to do.
Again, he has dementia.
He sits
I
on
think
a
he just knows
bench
it's
for
all gonna
12
work out.
hours, David. I don't think he's really focused on the sack. I guess the way Ernest saves
Sit
Christmas
up.
is just what, like that he gets
He gets the reindeer.
he goes for a joyride
Right.
in high orbit. We have a couple of pop culture nods.
Not low orbit.
He did go in. I mean, like, they showed that, and I was like, well, this sleigh must really be magic because they should all be dead.
Oh, so they have some
Well,
pop culture
also-
references in here, though. When he gets that sled and goes on the joyride,
He's
we have a
helped-
Star Wars reference with the hyperdrive, and then we have a
Yes.
Superman reference with the circling around the planet super fast. I did catch those.
Man,
Oh,
I
to
was really
reverse time?
hoping he was going to go back in time.
I was
Do you
kind of
think
expecting
Santa
that, to
did
be
Santa
honest.
appear in the clouds? It was like, it is forbidden for you to interfere with human destiny. Also, he's accompanied by two elves because when he goes to get the reindeer from baggage claim, these two elves show up dressed like 50s G-men through customs again, and they're there as well. So they're kind of like his Chewbacca, or given their height, they're his R2D2s. Which is probably an offensive joke that I've just made and might cut. We'll see how I feel in the moment in the editing.
It's R2D2s.
Well, I don't.
Yeah.
It's Ewoks.
Come at me, short people. I'll never see you coming.
That's true.
That's getting cut.
Or am I doubling down? Am I J.K. Rowling and digging my feet in
Oh,
right
you
now?
did not just do J. Carroll.
Yeah, I'm
Fuck
digging
her.
my feet in. I have a strong personal offense to short people.
Anyway, then he weirdly looks. By the way, after all the pop culture reference, he looks at the camera when the sled stops and jokes that they're like air brakes or something like that, which is weird because he has not been looking at the camera for the whole movie the way he did in Ernest Goes to Camp. So I was really taken aback, which is just a long-going series of David gets freaked out when he realizes the film can see.
Oh no,
him.
he does it earlier when he tries to go into his house with the Christmas tree he stole off the freeway.
Well, that's Vern though, but that's Vern. So you are meant to understand that
Yeah.
this is a person's point of view.
You are in Vern's perspective when he
You
comes into
are
the
Vern.
house.
well, then
and
where's Vern
destroys
after
it.
all that? Like,
You are him.
I assume
picking up
it's
the-
contacting
picking
his
up the-
insurance company.
isn't there supposed to be a team of continuity experts on these sets? Gosh.
Script supervisors. Yes.
Either that or Vern's hiring a hitman to finally rid himself of this undead monster that is Ernest.
Ernest.
No human could
The line
survive
must
that.
be drawn here.
Oh yeah. Following up on the Looney Tunes aspects of this, the one guy who, by the way, those baggage handlers near the beginning of the film, they're unloading these giant crates in the plane.
One of them was the cook in the previous.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is that other guy also in the other? Is this like gonna be a
No.
running theme? Like,
No. Do you think they're the same people though? Do you think that the cook has stalked Ernest? Although I guess he would have been like, "Oh, hey, Ernest." Although who can remember their fuckboys?
so after Ernest
That's
goes to
true.
camp, the camp ends up being closed for obvious reasons. And
Oh yeah, that thing's covered in police tape at this
oh
point.
yeah, those investigations aren't closing anytime soon. So the cook goes and becomes a baggage handler, and so on and so forth with all of the cast that we're undoubtedly going to see going forward. I just know it.
The cook, the thief, his wife, and the baggage handler.
Yep, we're gonna see them all. Just give it time. I actually kind of interested to see
Yeah.
if we see them in the next movies.
I'm so excited for this saga.
Also, how have I never heard of these
Ernest-
movies? Like, there's a whole bunch of them.
Corey,
I'm surprised.
You lived a charmed childhood. I think there's a lot of stuff that if you weren't like us and you didn't spend every Friday night in the Blockbuster video, you may have never heard of.
Like, I don't know. I saw The Matrix when it came out in theaters, but I'd never heard of Ernest. Like, I can't explain that.
Because those are the only two options.
Oh, no,
Look, there are
no,
two
David,
there
they're
are
a
two
decade
types of
apart.
ki-
You don't
there are
get
two
it.
ty-
They're a decade apart.
There are two types of kids. Two types of early millennials. There were Ernest kids. There were Matrix kids. Which one were you?
Definitely Matrix kid. Man, I wanted a trench coat for so
I
long.
watched both of them though,
You watched both of them, Brian?
Ernest and Matrix.
Heresy. What, together on two TVs next to each other?
Ernest enters the
Wait, you
Matrix.
never saw Ernest Saves the Matrix?
It was like it's kind of like Dark Side of the Moon. If you play the Matrix while you play Ernest Saves Christmas, you're gonna see a lot of interesting parallels. Anyway, Ernest Saves Christmas at the end. Wait, no, he doesn't really. Technically, he's sort of just
No,
present for the saving of
No,
Christmas.
Claus saves Christmas. Ernest just
Yeah.
goes on a
Ernest
joyride
sorta-
and then happens to like.
Ernest just sort of brings him his car.
And if he didn't
It's
bring him
time
his
to leave.
car,
Ernest was the valet the whole time.
That's true. He started, again, Corey, excellent point. Just like in Ernest Goes to Camp, setup and payoff. You start with the 3 trials, and then you end with the 3 trials, but in a new context. Ernest starts as Santa's chauffeur, and he ends as Santa's chauffeur.
Yeah.
But now with Santa's sleigh.
Yeah.
Who wrote these movies? Was it Shakespeare?
Everything comes full circle. Like, it's simple.
This feels like an Oscar Wilde thing to me.
What, where the story just sort of ends and somebody's dead and
Yeah.
nobody really cares? Yeah, that's right. Come at me, Oscar Wilde.
That'd be difficult for him to do
He's not trying
Because-
hard enough.
because of the notable handicap of being dead.
Notable handicap would be. I thought there was a picture of him somewhere getting younger. Anyway, so Ernest Saves Christmas. Like literally, I feel like it feels like we're skipping over the plot, but we're really not.
It's not
I mean, like, I'm not really sure how he saves Christmas. Basically, Santa convinces the actor that he's going to become the new Santa, and he abandons his agent and his lucrative film deal with his team of managers and agents, and he
Well,
decides
so-
to be Santa.
he only abandons it because he sees Ernest flying around in the sleigh.
He only abandons it because he gets he gets absolute proof that
So,
Santa's
plot
real.
A.
He sees the sleigh and he's
Plot
like,
A is
"Holy
all about
shit."
Santa Claus trying to hand over his power. Plot B is about Ernest and this
Wayward
youth, and this wayward youth's journey to realizing she shouldn't be selfish, and that kind of converging with Ernest.
Realizing she doesn't have to run anymore from whatever horrible past she
Right,
must
and so literally just Santa sitting on the bench, which tell me Santa Claus isn't some kind of god, because he knew all that was gonna happen, and he knew right where he needed to put himself, because that wayward youth
Speaking of the
came running
Matrix,
right to where he was.
just how the architect and the oracle are sitting on the bench at the end of the Matrix
Wow.
Revolutions.
Yeah, so everybody just happens to all land.
You don't remember that classic moment when Ernest walked up to Santa and went, "How did you know?" And he went, "I didn't, but I believed."
No, I remember.
I mean, that's kind of basically what
I fucking
happened.
knew.
Well, this is also one of those like things about Santa in movies, which is like it's always about like the power of belief, but it's not really belief if you get complete absolute evidence that it's true. That's not really belief anymore. That's just fact.
Right.
But the movie kind of breezes past that, and then the new guy gets in his sled and goes, "Hey, Ernest, hey, wayward youth, want to get in the sled and ride off?" And they're like, "Boy, do I!" And then Santa turns over to the head of the orphanage, who is this kindly older woman who did believe him earlier and did help Ernest on their journey. And basically, we're left knowing that Santa's gonna fuck. And I can't think of a better ending to any Christmas movie than that.
Yeah, Santa got laid. Good for Santa. Well, it does raise the question about the myth of Mrs. Claus. So, like, does Joe have some tail waiting for him at the North
Oh.
Pole?
I think since Santa Claus is both a title and a name, I think Mrs. Claus is whoever your wife is. So either this person specifically did not, and maybe Mrs. Claus unfortunately has passed on, and maybe that's why he's like, it's time.
My
for
magic
me to
energy is
retire.
running low, and also I've lost all my will to live.
Yeah.
They did a pretty good job on the casting for Santa and Mrs. Claus, though. They
I
really,
found him I found the man very charming as Santa.
yeah, and like the woman looked, I don't know, she looked like a Mrs. Claus to me.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Definitely more Santa than fucking
Tim Allen.
Brian has his
Allen
idea
or,
on Mrs. Claus.
What's his name?
I used to like that movie.
Fucking-
Oh, maybe I still do.
The Santa Claus. Well, we'll get there in our Tim Allen epic.
Do we have to do an
not.
epic for Tim Allen? Can't
I'm
we just
good.
do a feature?
Oh yeah, I've
Hey,
got
you gotta
so many.
watch-
I've
you
got
gotta
so
watch
many
every
thoughts on
episode of,
Jungle
Home
to
Improvement.
Jungle.
Oh,
He was in Jungle to Jungle, right?
I think
that was
so.
him, right?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, at least we'll get that Toy Story movies in there.
And lots of stories of being a drug mule.
yep.
Boy, he turned on all those people.
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Tim Allen served time, but very little time. Tim Allen was a cocaine trafficker, and he got busted with a lot of cocaine, and he survived it by turning.
So I'm not gonna find that on his Wikipedia.
I
know-
think
Yeah,
you
you
will.
No,
I think
don't-
you will.
I don't see it. I don't see any legal issues. Any?
Are you fucking
any-
kidding me? Did they scrub
No.
his Wikipedia
Holy
of it?
crap!
I'm pretty sure he
There's
checks
no
it every
mention.
day.
Oh wait, here we go. It's in his career. Sorry.
I mean, that makes sense.
What header should we put this cocaine ring
Under-
under?
I mean,
under
this
career.
because it's notable enough.
They're not wrong. It's certainly not personal life. It wasn't his hobby.
Yeah, it's under career. He started as a comedian in 1975, and then it's like a sentence or two about that, and then it's like
Yeah.
anyway. So in '78,
Yep.
he did a
He had
bunch.
a pound and a half of cocaine on him. Pled guilty to felony drug trafficking charges and provided the names of other dealers in exchange for a sentence of 3 to 7 years rather than possible life imprisonment. He was paroled in '81.
Oh
after
my
serving
god, he had a
2 years.
DUI with a .15 back.
So he's like a real life redemption story.
I don't.
That's a redemption story is a way to put
I don't
it.
think
sure.
there's any redemption here.
Yeah, if snitches are redeemable.
Yeah, I mean he went from selling
Well-
and dealing cocaine to being Woody. Or
Steve,
Buzz, sorry,
Steve,
Buzz.
Steve, I don't think we can involve Brian in any crimes.
Yep.
Steve, I think someone needs to get some stitches.
Well, so if I snitch, do I get to be in the next Toy Story?
Apparently.
Yeah.
No, you get to be a toy in someone else's story.
Oh. So anyway, Tim Allen, who's not in Ernest Saves Christmas. I mean, I guess we could. I would say the last bit I wanted to talk about. Then we can talk about Tim Allen some more because boy, that's fun. Did we all see the mid-credit sequence of this film?
No.
Again, I was not aware that they. Oh yes, I did see that, and that wasn't even
Okay.
a mid-credit sequence. That was
It
literally
goes to
just
black. It goes
yeah.
to black after it says the end. It says the end, and then it goes to black, and then it comes back in to show you the Easter Bunny. Well, maybe they realized that the mid-credit sequence of the previous film was too little seen. But anyway, the film ends with a crate at the baggage claimers, and it's marked to the shipping papers are to E. Bunny, and sure enough, the Easter Bunny pops out and then I guess eats them.
Man.
Because bunnies are malicious and will eat anything, including their own children.
I mean, I hope that's all that bunny did to them.
Oh.
Oh, it was just the last thing he did to them. So anyway, that was Ernest Saves Christmas. I will say this. I gotta tell you, we're two movies in. I'm enjoying this a lot more than Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Unlike Nicolas Cage, I don't.
I don't know, man. Ernest was good, but it's still no vengeance, a love story.
Which
To
we
be
didn't
fair,
even cover on the podcast.
Yep.
to be fair, we also might have just watched the best two Ernest movies, and we basically avoided the best Nicolas Cage movies.
Well, okay.
Well, that's because it's not fun to talk about leaving Las Vegas.
Here's the thing about the Ernest movies. I couldn't help but notice, critically speaking, they never performed that well. Which leads you to a question of, if they didn't perform
Yes,
well
they did.
critically,
He means
critically, not
critically
gross.
is what he
I'm
said.
not talking about the thing that matters.
Brian, they were not well reviewed.
Not well reviewed by.
yeah, I was gonna say Number 2 at the box office sounds like a fucking
and that's
success
quite a
to
polarity,
me,
right?
but-
So apparently everybody went and saw it multiple times, I assume, and then also everybody just loved to talk trash about it because these movies are perfectly 50% rated, as far as I can tell, by Medium. And that trend doesn't go up the more Ernest movies we have; it goes down.
Well, this is the most successful one. This one made the most money.
Okay, well, we have a saying around here at Cattywampus: "It's all downhill from here." Well,
Is that
it's our saying now.
It is now.
It is now.
It is now. Quickly to T Public. Print up the shirts.
I mean, I could scan every one of our podcasts, but I'm pretty sure we've said that more than once in the past.
I don't know that it's all downhill from hill. I'm excited about Ernest Goes to Jail. I'm wondering if Ernest Goes to Jail.
I'm excited about it too. He's needed to be there for a long time.
Yeah,
Will Ernest become reformed and stop
Finally.
committing crimes?
I just want to know what he does to land in jail.
I can't wait for Judgment at Nuremberg, but with Ernest.
I was only following orders.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Your Honor, please, do you know what I mean?
I'm just real curious, like what lands him in jail if all the shit he did in these 2 movies didn't.
So, a little sneak peek. I remember that in Ernest,
I do
he is
remember
framed by a doppelganger, also played by Jim Varney,
Sounds amazing.
who I believe escapes jail. So it's more accurately as Ernest goes back to jail. Ernest is returned by U.S. Marshals after fleeing from jail.
Is Scared Stupid a straight to DVD or no?
No, it was theatrical. No, the first 5 are theatrically released. So after this, it's Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Scared Stupid, and Ernest Rides Again. Those were all theatrically released.
Awesome.
Scared Stupid is probably the one I saw the most as a kid. And we'll get there, but that's you want to talk about when this goes off the rails. I think it's going to be Ernest Scared
I'm
Stupid.
excited for that one. I remember I definitely had that VHS and I definitely watched it a lot, but I don't remember a single thing about it.
I remember
You will quickly remember most of it.
I remember that it's about an evil troll that needs to be killed by milk, and the L is missing from the spell book. So Ernest thinks it is a rare spice called miak. That's all I remember.
I can't wait to see where this goes.
Good old Miak.
There you
That
go. There's a little
sounds-
sneak preview.
That sounds
preview
very
of-
similar to like how Bruce Campbell fights evil.
Again, Ernest meets Ash from the
Yeah.
Evil Dead. What a great
Yeah.
movie.
I mean, they seem like they could be buddies.
Ernest fighting Deadites? Sign me up.
Missed opportunities all around.
There's not much more to this movie. This movie does not, it's not as, see, I don't think this is why, I don't know that this, I think I liked this more than Camp. But obviously, there's not as much there.
No, there's not. There's 2 plots. They converge. It's a Christmas movie. I think, like, if you were to look at this and compare it to any other movie, I don't know if you'd want to compare this to more of Ernest movies, which we'll see going forward. We will see. But it might be better to compare this to the stereotypical Christmas movie, where there isn't the typical plot structure. There isn't this typical, like, antagonist and rising action and resolution and all these other simple things that make a story. It's more of just, here's Santa Claus and here's some things that happen. And by the way, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Christmas movie's a wide term. If we compare this to It's a Wonderful Life, no, it's not really all that good. If we compare this to a Hallmark Christmas movie, it's pretty good.
You know what I...
I'd rather watch this than A Christmas Story.
Oh, I think that's
When
true.
are we
of
gonna
most
watch that?
movies. I'd rather watch Crank
Yeah.
High Voltage than A Christmas Story. Well, since we've covered the first two Home Alone movies, I guess we could do A Christmas Story this Christmas.
I'm good.
I just don't want to watch it. Like, I just don't.
There's
wanna.
no point.
Yeah, there's
Everyone's
no
You know
world
me,
where I
there's
want
no
to
point.
watch
My
that movie.
my bar of watching things is impossibly low.
I contest that claim. Okay.
My bar of watching films is so low. It doesn't even exist. It's like I threw the bar away. It's not even on the ground.
Well, that's Ernest Saves Christmas.
So to recap,
On our Ernest Saves the Podcast journey.
the Ernest Odyssey, a tentacle.
Can't wait to see what happens when he goes to jail. That might hopefully be interesting.
Also, I could be misremembering, but I think somebody gets electric powers in the next movie.
Ernest gets shanked in the prison yard.
I think he gets electric powers the way like M. Bison had them in the end of the Street Fighter film.
Ernest High Voltage?
Electroconductivity! Do you recognize Ernest's godhood?
And that, boys and girls, was Ernest Saves Christmas.
That was Saves Christmas. Anyway, happy 4th of July. Be patriotic today by watching Ernest Saves Christmas. I feel like that was probably too short, but
It's fine.
Ernest is a man of brevity.
Jim Varney knows many words. He doesn't need to use all of them.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
You think it's fine? You're like, it's fine. We could do a 15-minute episode. It's fine.
You've been listening to Cattywampus. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at CattyWampusPod. Email us at cattywampuspodcast@gmail.com. Music by Tilly.
Anyway, that's it for. Anyway, that's probably where I'll edit it out. But nobody stop recording because I think it'll just be if we're willing to go into the next one. I think it'll just be easier than trying to resync.
I mean, it's
sure?
up to you. I'm not sure.
Well, because then I don't have to resync.
I've got enough hard drive space for 600 hours of this. I'll leave the tape going.
Yeah, I don't have to do 2 syncs. I can just do 1 sync.
Okay.
Yeah. Or would you feel more comfortable stopping and checking it?
I mean, does anybody need a break?
feeling,
I
or-
think that's the. Ow.
No, just leave the tape rolling. Just mute your mic or something. I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
I mean, it takes 2 seconds to start a new track and say the number 4.
I know, it's just more work for me to sync.
I'm just gonna leave mine going.
Okay. All right, I'll just leave it
All right.
alone.
There you go. That's easy.
Dead
Back.
air.
I love Brian's attitude. It's like, yeah, but David, I don't have to do more work. So. Surely this is easier.
Right?
Surely it's easier.